CTO, CKBS. Okay, so CKBS, we are into robotics. So we do robotics, and we specialize in programming. Okay, sorry. So I'm also a developer. So what we do is that I have experience in Python programming language, and then C and C++. Okay, because we use Python and C++ a lot in our development as a robotic engineer. Okay, so I have a privilege also to walk you through this series. Okay, so my focus is for you to really understand Python very well. So the first phase, we need to really understand the language, the Python language itself, and we need to do we examine all the syntax and like. So our next module, we will focus on more of practical work, okay, application of everything. So what we are doing is to just give us the hands-on understanding of whatever the language is about. I know you are university students, and it's better for you to get the details of it than to brush you or rush you through maybe project and example. That wouldn't be good for you. So once you have the hands-on understanding and the theory too, you need to know why this is this, why this, because it's something you need to know. So once you get those ones, it's easy for you to apply any concepts within the Python space. But one thing I want you to know, Python is not difficult. If you have it in mind that it's difficult to learn, it's not difficult. That is one of the easiest programming language you can get. Okay, so all that you needed is to make yourself available, and then the information that I'll provide to you you will take time and read them. Okay, it's going to help you. Okay, so I'll leave here and I'll also get to Christian. So now we have to Nana and then Kwame. They've just introduced themselves to us. So Christian, can you also introduce yourself to us so we can move on? Yeah,
Hello.
Christian. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm Christian Owusu Afari,
Okay.
and I'm currently in Kia University, but I'm on vacation, so
Okay.
I'm learning it to boost my academic experience. Thank you.
Okay. So what course are you offering there?
It's publishing.
Publishing. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
fine.
please.
So guys, I think all of you are from tech, so it's better to learn together and then collaborate. Once you're on the same school, it's better to learn well and collaborate, and then we share ideas. So once you understand something and you realize the other couldn't get it, it's better you can consult. Okay, that is how we learn. Okay, so some of the concepts you might easily get it, and then you see one is flowing well, you can ask question or can ask for assistance. Okay, so I will share my screen with you. Okay, so you will be using PowerShell. Okay, so you make sure your PowerShell is on. You can just go to search and type PowerShell, Windows PowerShell. You get it. So that is my okay. Okay, so I have mine now working there. So what I want us to do here is to continue from where we left last time. Okay, so I think where we got to was the chapter 1. We were dealing with the 4. Okay, so what I want us to know is that Python deal with the interpreter. So to start writing your Python script, either you want to use an editor, okay, like VS Code, or you can still use the interpreter to be able to do a little bit of analysis on your own without you writing a pure Python code or a script using a text editor. Okay, so with this lesson, we'll be focusing on using the text editor to do most of the work. Then from there, we can move on to using the other platform to write code. Now, we got to know that when it comes to Python, we have a different data type that we can use. Okay, so some of them are the integer, we have floating points, and then we have a string. But all these ones that you can hear, always you need to think in terms of objects. When it comes to Python, everything about Python you need to think in terms of objects, because we call it object-oriented programming language, meaning that if I have an integer here, this is a number that you can see here is number 6. Okay, so how will Python know that this 6 is an integer? How will it know? Now the only way to do that is using the class. So it has a class, and each class is having a method, okay, that's associated with. So that method will tell Python that, hey, you are dealing with integer. Okay, so you don't need to declare integer for Python. Automatically, when you assign an object or a value to a variable, automatically it will know the type of value or the type of object that you've provided. Okay, so we did an analysis with that by using the help function. So the help function was able to help us to know the class, everything about that. That's what we did in our previous class. Okay. Now we also learned that Python is can be, in terms of the data type, it can be a mutable or immutable. Now, when you say mutable means that you can alter its element. Now, the elements are, these are whatever that accompanies. So if I have a string, the elements of the string are individual characters that you see there. If I have a list, the element of the list will be a different data type that will be in the list. It can be a string, it can be an integer, it can be so. So if I'm able to alter that, then it's mutable. If I'm not able to alter it, then it's immutable. It means that you cannot change. So once that data has been created, you cannot change it. You cannot do anything with that. Okay. So there are certain data type that you can do that. And then we also look at, we say Python supports several collection types. So when you talk about the collection type, we are simply talking about the types of data that you can use. But in this case, we are referring to a sequential kind of data. So what will be a sequence? A sequence means that a data type that can be looked, that you can look over or iterate over. So iterate means that it follows a certain pattern. So you could go through. So I can use a for loop for that and stuff. So some of them are, example, list. List is iterable object or it's a sequential object. We can have something like a tuple. A tuple is there. We can have something like a set. Okay, so set is also there, and a list itself. So these are all iterable, and a string, they are all iterable. But integer is not iterable, and the float is not iterable. So that is what you need. We will go into details for you to know. So this sequence share a common set of operation. So what are some of the operations that you can see? And some of them are, I'm even telling you that you can use a for loop to be able to look to get individual elements in that. For instance, if it's a list. Okay. Now let's look at, we are seeing that some Python data types are callable. What does it mean when we say a data is callable? Okay. So so if we are talking about that, what do we mean? So it means that we can use the type name like any other function. Okay, so any other function that you can create an instance of that type and use it. So we'll be doing that in details for you to know. So when you write a function, what do? You say a function can have a return type or not. So how do you do that? So by default, if you did not return anything, it will give you a null value. So we will go into details to know all those ones. So these are some of the things that you can see. And then we see that Python data type itself has a different data type. Okay, so different data type that we can look at is what? We look at the numeric, we look at Boolean, we look at non-type. Okay, then when we talk about numeric has two. That is what? Integer and float. And what is integer? We are looking at integer as a whole number. So any number without a decimal point is an integer. And then we look at any number point is also what? A floating point number. Okay, and Boolean deal with true or false. When we talk about Boolean, we are talking about true or false, or zeros and one. So one is true, zero is false. So if I have a number, let's say I want to test for empty string. Empty string will be 0 will be when you check the boolean, you write that it will give you false. Okay, so when you check it, it will give you false. So that is one thing that we need to note. Okay, take note. So for instance, I want to check all boolean. What make boolean boolean? So if I have here, I get here, and then I see number 1. Now number 1, definitely this is 1. Okay, so when you check 1 would definitely give you oh sorry, when you check that, so I have number 1. So this is 1. Okay, so this one is 1. So if you want to check 1, this 1 simply means in boolean is going to give you true. Okay, now when you check this one and see number 1 assigned to maybe 0, now this one in boolean, this one will give you false. Okay, and when we have empty string, so if I have maybe name and then I assign name to empty string like this, it tells you this one will also in boolean, this one will give you false. Okay, and then now when you have something like this, this is this one. If you have my, let's say king is a variable, and then I want to check for none like this, none like this. Now with this one, what we know that with the none we can use is. So instead of me using none like this, I can use is equal, assign this one, I can use this equal sign, and I will see that none. Okay, so I'm seeing that it's none, it doesn't represent anything. And using this equal sign, I could also do the same thing with what is. I could also do the same thing with is. So that's one that I want you to take note of. Okay, when it comes to learning about numeric, boolean, and non-data types. So all non-data types may be, when you have empty string, it's non-data types. It will, when you have 0, so all those ones will fall under 4. Okay, 4. And anything that you want to represent your database that doesn't represent any value is none. You use this one, non-data type, to represent that. Okay, so we'll go further to that. So I've already explained this one to you, that when we talk about numeric data type, so numeric data type will be true. That is integer and float. And we know that anything whole is an integer. Okay, so I can do 5 plus 4, which will give me 9. Okay, or I can assign this to a variable and print it, and then I'll get the answer down there. Okay, so you could do anything like subtraction, division, or modulo, anything with this. Okay, and the results will be the same. Okay, so that is a simple kind of exercise that you could do when it comes to practicing integer and stuff using the interpreter. Okay, so for instance, if I get here I could do the same thing. Then we say that literal integer values are by default expressed in what? A decimal. Okay, so you can use other bases by prefixing the number with what? A zero or the base initial. Okay, so we can do that, and then we know that when you come to computer deal with binary. Okay, and then binary, aside binary, we have the octal, we have hexadecimal, we have all those ones there. We can deeply go into some of them to know. So what I want you to know that when we come to learning these ones, they are very easy to go with. So if I have a number like this one, maybe one like this, I can just say this, okay, and then I will do maybe 1 plus 2, which will definitely give me this. If I say 1, what is where is in the memory, it's going to give it out. So I will have this, and it gives me the result. You could also use the print function just to print this, because interpreter will definitely give you, once you call the variable, it will give you, or you could place it inside this, and you'll be able to get the answer, okay, down there like this. Okay, you could do a modulo, and when you talk about modulo simply means a remainder of a number. So we have addition, multiplication, subtraction, modulo. So if I want to do a modulo, I could do the same thing. Okay, so let's see. A modulo is, now I have 2 modulo 3. Let's say 2 modulo 3. Now 2 modulo 3 will definitely, why 2 modulo 3 is 2? Hello. Yeah, why 2 modulo 3 is 2?
Yeah, it's basically something we're taught that when you're finding like I don't know, when you're doing modulos and like what should I say? If let's say you're finding the number you're finding them, how should I explain it? C2 is smaller than 3.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, if you see something like that, yeah, back in SHS, we're just taught that if the number is smaller, just the answer is that number. But I know there's more to it than that. But that's just what we're taught. Like if you have
Okay, that
4 modulo 5, the answer is 4. 7 modulo
mhm.
10, the answer is 7. That's how we're taught.
Okay. I think
But is there
you have
more of a
the,
reason?
you have the understanding. It's good. So the basic understanding is you have 3 people sharing 2 items. Okay, the modulo deal with remainder. So anytime you hear modulo, what comes in mind is remainder. So you ask yourself, if 3 people are sharing 2 items, what will be the remainder? Definitely is 2, because you can't get, and I also will not get. Do you get it? So we are looking at what is left. I hope you get it. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so modulo simply
Yes.
means remainder. So if I have 4 modulo 2, definitely you will know the answer, right? 4 modulo 2 will be what? Will be what? 0, right? Because if 2 people are sharing 4 items, definitely there will not be any remainder. Okay, so modulo, you always think in terms of what? Remainder. Okay, so when you share, what will be left is remainder. So like you're saying that back in SHS, they taught you that when the item is bigger, definitely it's going to be that, because if I have odd, and not just bigger but odd, so if I have odd number, I'm dealing with odd number here. Let's say odd number like 5, and then I have a modulo 4. So definitely it's going to be what? What will be the answer? Hello? 5 modulo 4. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
I'm sure 5.
Hello.
It's 5. It's 5, yeah. Well, obviously, sorry, 1. Okay, why 1? Why 1? Because it's 4, and then each one will get what? 1, because they are 4, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because we are dealing with
Yeah.
remainder. So at least you get 1, then there will be what? But when it's 2, let's say 7. If I have 7 modulo 4, okay, 7 modulo 4 definitely will be what? Will be what?
3.
3, yes, because each will get 1. Okay,
Yeah.
and then remainder. So that is modulo. So anytime you hear modulo, your mind you should think about what? Remainder.
Remember.
Yeah, so that is it. So now we can use that for modulo. You can do all this. You can do a division. You can do a subtraction. You can do whatever you want to do to still work it. Okay, so that's what we learn about the floating point. So the floating point is, I said, is got to do with a decimal point. Okay, so that is the difference between integer and the. Okay, so now we continue with the next. Okay, so now I have this. Okay, so one thing is we call something casting. Okay, CASTING, casting. Okay, so casting simply means that you convert one data type to another. Okay, so now we are talking more of integer. Okay, so now I have say a data type of an integer is int. So if right now we want to check this one, what can we use to check that the data type of maybe 5 is an integer? Yeah, from our previous class.
Type.
Hello.
The type function.
Type.
Yeah.
The type function. So we have the type function. You can use the type function to check. So we think that the type of an integer is int. Okay, so that is int. So if right now I want to check that, I can come here and then type, maybe I'll provide an integer, let's say 5. So maybe I'm giving a number. Okay, and the number is, I've assigned a value which is to the variable like 5 here, and I want to check whether this 5 that I've given here is an integer. So what I'll do is that I'll use my print function, and then inside that I'll use my type function to check the type of data. Okay, so here I will see, I'll use the variable name, so number, and you see here to give me what? Int. So it's a class. Like I said, everything about Python is, you should think in terms of class. So if I want to check the class int, what would that be? So I could also do the same thing by changing my type to help, and that will give me more information about that. So here I could have a lot of information here. So what do we see here? You could see that it's a class. So you can see a class int, and it's an object. So we see that everything we need. So this is a parameter. Now a class having a parameter. So now when you pass an argument to maybe the number or whatever we pass through, and that is what we change. So now you could see this class int is what we can use to change one data type to another. Okay, so I have a class int. So if I want to convert maybe a float to integer, I will use the class, this class object here, to convert that. Okay, so that's what we call, so the process of converting one data type to another is what we use the term word casting. Okay, so I have this one here. Check here, you could see that this one is here. This is int, and this is the class int, and it's having what here. At this point, what you see here is called argument. Okay, now anytime you provide, when coding first one, you have to give a parameter. Now passing a value to that parameter is called argument. So now you can see the example that I gave here. It's a class word int, and it's having a parameter or object. So here this tells you that you can pass a value to this. That's what it means. And now it will change everything. So you can see that here it will convert it to what? Integer. And we are saying x base 10 is an integer. Okay, so the return type will give you an integer. Okay, so make it is simple. When you understand in this way, where anything that you are doing, you really know exactly what you are doing. Okay, so always when you are with Python, think in terms of what you should think in terms of an edit. Okay, so I believe now this one is clear. So you can see that this is what we see here. Anything within the quotes, we will get into string before, so just take this from me. Anything within the quote, either a single quote, double quote, triple quote, is the same as what? A string. Okay, so now you could see that I have 1, 2, 3. This is an integer string. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So it's a string, but then I want to convert it to a number. How will I do? What will I do? So now you can see here. Let's get to. Okay, so now if I'm here and I have number, so I have number underscore 1. Okay, and then I'll assign it to this. Okay, which is what? 2. And then I have number underscore 2. Okay, and then I will assign it to this 3. Okay, now if I move on to the next point and I say, okay, total, I want to add them. So I will see that number underscore 1 plus number underscore 2. Okay, so now I want to test and see what will I get. So now I will see that print total. Now you see something here. What's the answer? Hello.
2, 3, 23. 2, 3.
23. But you know 23 is wrong, right?
Yeah.
So this one is an error, but
Yeah.
we call this one logical error. Okay. Logical error means that it doesn't make sense, right? Because if I say 2 plus 3, but what means that it's another term for concatenation. What it means that
Concatenation.
you can join 2 strings together. So what it means that I've joined the string like what? 2 and 3. It doesn't mean that I'm adding. So at this point, the operation here is a concatenation sign. Okay, not for
Yeah.
addition. Okay, so I need to cast this one to be able to do my work. Okay, I need to cast this. So what I can do is that you use the int to cast this. Just means that you want to change what this one towards an integer, because if you want to check the type right now, let's say you want to check the type. Let's check the type. So if I say type, number one, okay, or type total, anyone will be the same. So type underscore number one. You will see that the type is a string. Okay, you can see this is a class string. So now I need to change this one from string towards integer. And we use the term of cast. You need to cast it. So I need to pass it through the class what int. Okay, like you saw. So now I will come here and change this line. So instead of me doing the addition here, I will say total assigned to, or let me do this so that I don't waste time. Okay, so total assigned to here. So what do I need to do? I'll pass this one through int. I'll say int this. Okay, and then I'll come to this side and use the word int. Sorry. Okay, so now we have this. So I can now print my total. What do you see here? What is the answer? It's what?
5.
It's 5. Okay, so now this one is no more a string. So if I want to check the type of the total here, data type here, I could see that print, or let me get the old one here and say print type. Okay, so now what do you see? It's what? A class what?
Integer.
Integer. So we've done the casting. So that is what you see here. That is the casting. Okay, so this is the class int. So now you could change a string, anything within a quote here, to become what? A number. So now you can see if you check the type of data of 1, 2, 3, it will be an integer because pass it through what? Int class. Okay, so that's what you have to see, that we can also change hexadecimal, okay, hexadecimal to this, okay, integer. So this is what it will give you. Okay, and then when you move to a floating point, you could do the same thing. Okay, so for a float, instead of int, you type the word float. Okay, so that makes the difference. Okay, so here if I say float, so instead of this point, I will type float. Okay, and then here you type float. But I hope you understand what float means, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now if I want to check so it means the answer after this, the answer that I will get will be with what? A decimal point. Okay, so that's what it means. So if I check here, the first one, realize that the answer we had, there wasn't any decimal point, but here we should get a decimal point. Okay, so you could see that we have for 5.0, that is a float. So if I want to check the data type, you will see that I will have what? Float. You can see that you have what? Float. So it's the same thing. So you can cast with what? You can change it back to a string by using what? str. Okay, because we check that a string data type give us what? str. Okay, so that is the difference that you see here. So all these ones that you see here, we talk about the casting. So you cast with what? A float, you cast with integer, and then you could also cast with what? A string. I hope it's clear.
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue. So now we look at another type of data called Boolean. Okay, so the Boolean type, and I said Boolean simply means what? True or false, or zeros and what? One. Okay, so you use the word bool, bool, to represent Boolean. Okay, so if you want to use that word, and with literal value true or what? False. So that's what it will give you. So we are saying then the default value of Boolean is false. Always keep this one in mind, that the default value of Boolean is false. Okay, so if you don't provide anything to the Boolean, definitely it's going to give you false. That is by default. Okay, and we see that Python support the concept of what? True like value for other types. Okay, for example, we are saying integers are considered false if their value is 0, which I've already explained to you before. Okay, so if you have integer and then the value is 0, for instance, if I provide 0, it will, when you put it in Boolean, to consider it as what? False. Okay, and because why are we saying that? Who can tell me why do we, when we pass 0 to a Boolean, it will term as false? Why? Any idea? Why? Hello.
Please, the question again.
Yeah, I'm saying that why when we are saying that when we pass 0, integer number 0 to a Boolean, it terms as false. Why? The default value of a Boolean is false, and we are saying that integer, when you pass integer, okay, when you pass integer, that is which is 0 to a Boolean, it terms as false. Why? Example, integers are considered false if their value is 0. Why?
So, well, can you see something to do with it being empty?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's something empty. Yeah, you are there. Empty.
I don't know how to put
So
it.
what is the basic rule for Boolean? Let's cast our mind there. What is the basic rule for Boolean? What makes Boolean? That's the first thing that you need to think about when a question like this is thrown to you. So you need to go to the basics of Boolean. What makes Boolean Boolean? What defines Boolean? Okay, because that we need to understand why, because we really want to understand the language. So you ask what make Boolean Boolean? Okay, what identify Boolean? Okay, and I've already talked about that. Okay, what did I say?
True and false and zeros and ones.
Yeah, true and false and zeros and one. So we are saying that because it's 0, definitely it's going to give us false. And we see that 0 represent what? False. Okay, in Boolean, and 1 represents what?
True.
True. Okay. So once we are saying that once the question is, for example, integers are considered false if their value is what? 0. And that is because it's 0, that's why it's considered what? False. I hope it's clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we see that here anything else is considered what? True. So I hope that one too is clear. So if 1 or 1.1 or whatever that is what is true. Okay. So the same apply to what? Float values. Okay, where we have here 0.0 will be what? False. Okay. Anything else is true. Okay. So we can also convert a Boolean value to what? Integer using what? The int. Okay. So in which case false is represented as what? 0. And then true will also represent as what? 1. I hope it's clear.
Yes, please.
Okay. So that was the understanding of Boolean. Okay. So it's very interesting that you really understand. Okay. Now I want someone to read here for me. Notes. Who can read that fast? Very important. The notes
Please,
part.
please, I'm ready.
Okay, read.
Notes. Booleans are implemented as a subclass of integer and so also support a bunch of operations that you might not expect, such as exponentiation. You can type things like true, 2 false, and get a result of 1. You should basically just pretend these features don't exist and treat them as an implementation detail. Otherwise, your code will become very confusing.
Okay, I hope it's clear. So certain things sometimes you need to just know how it works and then you keep it in mind. Okay, some of them you have to, and you don't need to sometimes confuse yourself a lot, but you have to know that when you have true exponents, false will definitely give you 1. Okay, like you have, let's say, negative will be what? Negative in mathematics. When you have negative, like
Positive.
negative times negative will be
Positive.
positive. So yes, positive. So yes, those kind of implementation. Definitely when you have exponent, false, and all those things. So these are some of the things, but you always have to keep in mind, like these kind of things might happen. Okay. So I think with this we gotten the understand of Boolean a little bit. Let's look at our next point. So we look at some of the additions to the Boolean type. So we see that Python supports bitwise Boolean operations on integers. Okay, and we are seeing that it seems that Python treats each corresponding pairs of bits within 2 integers as Boolean value. So for instance, we may have when we look at those who are doing electronics and stuff, okay, maybe computer, you know that if I have 8 bits, 8 bits will be what? 8 bits.
1 byte. It will give you 1 byte.
1 byte. 1 byte. Okay. will give you 1 byte. So you have to think in terms of that, okay? And then these are some of the things that you are, and then your byte to also lead to the other. Okay, so we have to look at this. Okay, these are how computer store data and all those things. So we are saying that these operations include a bitwise, and this is the sign for bitwise. When we see end, the ampersand sign here, this end here, okay, this is for end. So this end here, we call the logic, okay? So conditional logics, mostly when you will be doing conditions, so you understand. So we use end. End means that both condition must be true. So if I use end, it means that if I have two conditions and I'm using end, comparing the two, so I'm saying that both condition must be true. If one is false, the whole statement will be false. And then we can use the bitwise sign, which is this one, and it go with what the end. So sometimes I could use the end or a bitwise. So we see some code, you can see this or this, okay, but this one means bitwise sign. And then we have the or logic. In bitwise, you will see this, okay. Or simply means that at least one condition must be true. So if I use a condition and at least one is true, the whole condition becomes true, okay. And not, so we use this one, not operation. These are the logics. So conditional logic, not means that opposite of true, okay. So if you're not true, it will be what? False. And if you're not false, it will be what? True. And the bitwise sign is this, the ampersand sign, this one. That is the bitwise sign, okay. And then we have the S NOR. So S OR means that we use this sign for S NOR. Okay, so these are some of the things that you have to know. And as well as we have a bitwise shift operation. So for instance, maybe if I want to left, so this is what we use for left for bitwise. These two sign, these two less than sign, and then right will be the two greater than sign. So these are the bitwise operations, which I really want you to take note of them, which we might be using them more often depending on the kind of application you want to write. So when you see them in any code, you will not be confused. So you know that, hey, this one means right and this one means this. And Python understand each one. Okay. Now let's look at the non-type. Okay, so we are talking about data type. We've talked about the ends. We've talked about floating point. We've talked about Boolean. We're going deeper into collection type, which for now we've not done that. Collection type can be a list, can be a dictionary, can be a set, can be what do you call what do you call this one? It escape when I get it out. So these are some of the correction type that you can get. Okay, so we have to look at them in that way. But then there are other type that more often you will be seeing them because Python just have one. So even if you are dealing with your database, Python database site, you still use the same thing. And we call it what? Non-type. I've already talked about it. Okay, so we see that non-type represent a null object. Okay, null object. So null object, what does it mean? So this is only one null object in the Python environment. That is the only. Okay, and all references to null uses the same single instances. Okay, so what does it mean? So for instance, if I want to say that this means that equality tests with none are usually replaced by an identity test like 2. So for instance, I cannot see a variable equal is assigned to none. Okay, is the best way to do that is we can write that, but then assigned to none means that it doesn't exist. okay, but then you need to put something there, okay, for the code to run. But the best way is you not use equality sign, okay. So the best way to do is that identity type. So I want to identify the none as not existent. So I can see that a variable is none. It means that I just want to identify its identity, like this does not exist, but I will not say it's equal or it's assigned to none. Okay, so this one thing I want you to take note of. Okay, so what you'll be seeing, then sometimes I can see a code like this. It will run all right, but the best way to do is this: you identify it by its identity, but not equality. Okay, so we use the two equal sign for equality when you want to compare two items, or you want to equal it to check that if they are the same or something. But if you also want to check its identity, say, hey, I want to check the identity. What is the state of this? Either maybe your identity can be an integer, or identity can be this, or identity can be. So that's what we want to check. And we use the S for the identity test. Okay, so we see that none is the default return value of Python function. So if I write a Python function and I'm not returning anything, once I print that, it will give me none. Okay, it will give me none, because you know that the return type is supposed to return something. So if I'm not returning, and sometimes when you return and print, it's going to give you that. For instance, let me do a simple quick test for you to really understand that. Okay, so I have a function by name, maybe. Now when you want to define a function, we use the def, simply mean definition. So def maybe number. So that is my function, and this function is simply going to do for maybe a calculation. So I'll pass a parameter here called maybe number 1. Maybe I'm going to use it for add. So it means that this function, we can add two numbers to them. Okay, so here will be number 2. Okay, so so now we will get to functions, so don't worry about what I'm doing. Okay, so now here I will write my simple code. So maybe I will see a function that is total assigned to number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so I have this one. Okay, so now this is a simple function and supposed to return a value. Okay, so if I'm not returning anything, okay, it means that it's going to give me a return value of now. Okay, if I want to check that, it's going to give me a return value of now. So let's see. I have this one. I've already finished my function, and then I want to call this function number 1. So this is the number. So let's see what will happen. So I have this number here, and then I'll call this one and say 2. I'll pass 2 and I'll pass 3 inside as an argument. And let me print this one out and see what will happen. So print this. You can either print it or you can assign it to a value. So what did you see? Hello? Hello? It's none, because that is the default. Okay, that is the default return type. So it's going to give me now. because I'm supposed to return the total. Okay, so if you did not return it, then it's going to be now. Okay, so for instance, let's go over this time. I want to return it. Okay, so let's go to the code. The first one I did. Okay, sorry. So this time I want to return. Okay, so I will see total, and then I will assign it to number 1, sorry, plus number 2. Okay, so here I will have to do my return type. Okay, so I will say return. What am I returning? I'm returning total. Okay, so now I will now call this one and say number, and place the value in there. So this time it's not going to return now. Okay, I'm expecting it to give me a value. Okay, so let's do printing so that we can see the output. So I will say print. So now you see that here it will give me 5. I hope it's clear.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So that is the explanation here, that when you have a function, the default for that function is none. That means none is not callable. Okay, we see that none is not what callable, and so cannot use as what convention function to convert other type to none. Okay, so you cannot use, you know that we can use a convention. What can we use a convention to convert to other data type? We can do for string, you can do a boolean, you can do for a float, you can do for integer, but none type cannot be, because it's not callable and you cannot. So none is none. I hope it's clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we move on to the collection types. Okay. So the collection types, I've already mentioned some of them to you, the list and all. So we are saying that, as already mentioned, Python has several types representing different kinds of collection or sequencing. So anytime you hear about collections, you need to also think in terms of sequencing. Sequencing means that it follow a particular pattern. Like maybe I may have numbers, maybe 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a rhythm, a pattern that following. Okay, so that you use a sequence of numbers, sequence of this, sequence of this. So these are some of them. So when we talk about collection types, we look at strings, we look at bytes, we look at tuple, we look at lists, we look at dictionary, sets. Now, in Python data type, you are not, when you are learning Python, maybe data type, they can put all together. They can tell you data types are integer, floats, lists, and all those things. But I think your level at a university level, I will not tell you all are the same. You need to know each individual division. So you know that when it comes to list, string, and all those things, they have another subset that is called collection types. It means that we can get individual elements within that. So for instance, if I have a list, the things within the list are called elements. So I can pull individual elements from it. It is say if I have a string, I could get individual characters that will be for the element of that string. Okay, a dictionary. Now, for a dictionary is different. A dictionary use a key value pair. Okay, so a dictionary is having a key and a value. So if I want to access a dictionary value, I need to use its key to access the value. Now, if you want to access a list, this uses index. So index means that that's the position where the item is located. You can use that code through. So we go into details to know some of how you can implement them and how to use them. Okay, so once you understand all these things, it makes it easy when you want to use it, when you want to use a dictionary, when you want to use, and you know why this is, understand why this. So it gives you the confidence to be able to write a proper code. Okay, so now anytime you see this, the material I'm giving you, see notes, you need to read it very carefully and understand there are some points there that you need to really get. So I want someone to read it. Notes. Yeah. Okay.
In many of the following discussions, you will see references to operations accepting a collection type. Usually, this includes what Python calls iterables, which are objects that conform to Python.
Iteration protocol.
In most cases, you will not need to worry about them, but they are described in the Python documentation if you are interested in reading the technical details. Egu, please.
Okay. So iterable objects are objects that you can look over. So for instance, if I can look over a list and get individual elements, it's an iterable. Okay, so mostly iterable objects we use a for loop to be able to look through. So instead of me maybe printing individual elements, I can use a for loop to be able to get individual items. For instance, let's go to our prompt. Okay, so I have a list. Okay, so this is a list of students. Okay, and then what I will do is that we use this sign for a list that is greater. Okay, that is open and close square bracket. Okay, so for instance, I have, and we say that the element of a list can either be a string or integer or a float. Okay, so one element is maybe I'm using a string as a name, so I could say Kingsley. I could say Anna. I could also use the name Kwame. And then I have the last name. So let's see. Okay, so these are the lists that I have. Okay, now if I want to get individual item here, I will use what we call indexing. So each one is occupied by a position. Okay, so we see that in computing, the counting starting from what? 0. Okay, so here means that this is index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, right? So for instance, if I want Kingsley, I need to place Kingsley into this. So this is how you do it to get individual items. So I could see print, and then I have my list underscore student. Okay, and you have your open and close square bracket. Then you put the position that you want. So I want the first one. Okay, so this one will give me, if I run this code, it's going to give me Kingsley. Okay, so this is not iteration. This one I'm using the indexing to get individual elements. But if I want to use iteration and I want to print every name from here, and then I will use the for loop and say maybe for name in list students, list students, then I can print individual and say print. So this means that I'm looping, that is sequencing. So iteration, but it's going to go through sequencing and go to 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you print individual for me. So I'll say print name. So it's a temporary variable that I have here, name, and then I should get the whole thing out. Okay, so now you could see that I have what Kingsley, Nana, Kwame, Prince. Do you get it? So it tells you that this is a iterable object. It means that you can loop through. I hope it's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what we have here. That's the explanation that we've gotten. And then you can learn more about iterator by going here and then go through more and get more. But then you will get there by just understanding of it. Okay, so we have several features applied to all these collection types. Okay, that you can go about and learn them. And the one feature I want you to look at is Python is having a built-in function called length. So length function here can let you know maybe the number of elements within a particular, maybe a list or particular dictionary or all those things. I don't want to check or count them myself. I want to get the number. So we use the length function to be able to do that. Okay, so that is the length function. So you could keep this one. I can have a small jotter and put those information there. Sometimes it helps a lot. So you know your length function, you know your help function, you know your type functions. You'll be using them a lot. So try and them somewhere you'll be using. So for instance, what I just did here, I wanted to know, maybe you can see here I have 4 names. So maybe I have a lot of them, not just 4, maybe 1,000. How can I count all of them one by one? So I can use the length function to be able to do that. So we could say that print, and then I will place length inside there. So length, and then I'll have my list in there. So list underscore student. Okay. So this one is going to do that. So now you can see that I have what 4. Okay. So that is the length function, which is very useful for you to learn that. Okay,
Please, can
Mm-hmm.
please can the length
Hello.
function be used for hello? Yeah, can the length function be
Yeah.
used for strings?
Yeah, it can be used for string. So
Uh-huh.
if you have a string, see,
And
you want to learn
also,
the length. Mhm.
Now, another question. What's the name? You were saying strings and flutes and integers, they are not iterable. You are not iterate over them.
Which
Like strings,
which
flutes, and
no,
see
I'm
the
saying that
collection.
they are iterable.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying string is not, don't confuse. I say string is iterable. Flutes float is not iterable, because float and integer and float are not iterable, because do you get
Okay.
it? They are not
Yeah.
the collection type. Do you get it? So collection types are iterable. Okay, they are the sequencing. So for instance, if I have a string is one. So for instance, I've given a name here. Let's get here. I provided a name by, let's say, let me give a string. Let's say first name. Okay. First underscore. Okay. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to provide my name there, which is Kingsley, right? So this is a string. Right? So now I want to iterate individual characters. So I want to put individual characters. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use the for loop for
But I'm here.
n in first name. First name, okay,
Yeah.
and then I'll indent it. So from here I can say print n. So now you could see here, you see that I'm able to print individual characters. That is
Yeah.
a string, but I can't do that for integer. Let's try int, so number, and let's see what we'll get. So number underscore, let's say 0. Let me do that, and then provide a number like 5. Okay, now let's come here and use for t in number underscore 0. Okay, sorry, underscore 0. Okay, indent it, and then print nt. Okay, so now you will see here that I'll get this message. What do you see here? The error. What do you see?
Int
Object
object,
is
is it not iterable?
hope is clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
indexing cannot also be used for the flutes and the integers.
yeah, you can do indexing. Indexing means that individual character, there's a position, for instance. So here you can't use indexing for integer and floats.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But then you
Okay.
can use indexing for a string and all this, because you know the individual position. So like my name, like here, I will be able to know that the first letter will be at index 0. Okay, because it start counting from 0. So in the 0, so I could print my name instead of using the for loop. I can get the first character key by saying that print first name, first underscore name. Okay, open and close square brackets. And I'll put in 0. So that will give me for the first character. Okay.
Yeah.
So now if I run this one, you see that I have the key. Okay. So
Yeah.
you can do indexing, but then for floats and all those things, you can use like Boolean and all. You can use,
All right. I get it. I
yeah.
understand. Thanks.
Okay, so we will. Our time is almost. Let's see if we finish this and then we can close. Let me see. The 9. Let's see. We can move. Okay. So I think I'll leave this one. I've already explained some of them. Okay. So these are called indexing. So I have these numbers here. We use indexing here. So now if I want to get individual, I could use index, or we call slicing. Slicing means that you want to combine maybe all, like get like 4 or 3 from the index. Okay, so you use the slicing. Okay, but I hope do you prefer to start it as a new class since our time is up. So I could take more time to explain it to you. Okay, but when you get home, you can take your time and read. So what you do is that slicing, we choose the column. Okay, this is the column operator, and you use the open and close square brackets here in front of the item that you want to slice. So what do you mean that slice? That you want to pick a part or copy parts. Okay, so we know that the counting starts from what? 0. If you did not put anything there, it will pick entire what item and slice them for you. So if I place maybe something here, let me quickly do this. Maybe the other parts, we'll leave it the next class. So for here, I have this. Okay, so this will give me entire. Okay, I could go over the same thing, and now I want the first 3. So I'm saying that if I place 3 here in front, what does it mean? So it means that I'm saying that you should start from what position? What? 3. Okay, so doing what? Position what? 0, position 1, position 2, position 3. So I'm starting from what? 3 to what? 9. It
9.
means that yes, I'm not going to get here. What is that?
Please, I can't hear your voice very well.
Please, can you mute your? Okay, so you could see this. Do you see that we started from position 3? In the same way, I can decide to say, hey, I want to get the last digit. Like you say that the last digit, you could use the length. So if I want here, the last digit, I can use the length function to be able to get me the last digit. Okay, so some of the things that we can do here, so I can place everything within the last digit, or I can change here to negative. So anything negative start from what? The back. Okay, so 1, 0 from 1 start from what? The left. Okay, and then from negative side start from what? The right. So if I come here and I see that negative, I start from negative 1. Start from negative 1. Okay, to this. You see, what is here? 9. Why 9? Why 9? Because it starts from the back. That is the back. So after 9, there's nothing there again. I hope it's clear.
Yes, please.
Okay. So if I want to get maybe the first, this one, but I want to get 5, 7, 8, 9, what will I need to do if I'm using the negative indexing? So we know that this one is what? 1, this is the last. Negative 2 give me 8. So negative 3 to negative 1 should give me that. Okay. So this one will be negative 3. And then if I start from negative 3 and I also leave this one, it will print up to the last one. It's the same. Go from negative 3, it will print to the last one. You can see here. So now I have what? 7, 8, 9. I could do that by putting the 1 there if I have it here, like negative 1. Okay. In that case, I'm counting from the left. So you could see that I have here. Why this? Can anyone tell me why now the 9 didn't come, but I have 7, 8? Anyone? Any answer? Hello? You could see here, when I left here empty, I got the 7, 8, 9. But at this point, I only had 7, 8. The 9 couldn't come.
Basically telling it to stop at 9. So when it reaches 9, it stops.
Yes. Good. So it means that it says that it should start at negative 3 and stop at what? Negative 1. So the negative 1 simply means that because you are reading from the back, so here will be where it will stop. Okay, so if I want to include this, okay, if I want to include this, what do I need to do? If I want to include this, so sometimes you could use the len function. Okay, we can also use the len function and place all this one within the len function. I think it's becoming complicated, so I will just leave it to you like that. So maybe next when we meet, we can go through them. So if I have 1, negative 1 plus, let's say 1, what will be the result? None. Why? So yeah, there's a whole lot that you can try. So there's a whole lot that you could do. So you just need to go through some of them. Okay. So what do that we are skipping? What do you mean by this one means skip? Okay, so that's what it means. So when it happens like this, you get the understanding of it. So we have a lot here that you could try your hands on them. So next week when we meet, our time is up. I have another meeting, so we close here. If there's anything you can, if you have any question for me, do you have any question?
No, please.
Okay. So I'll send the video, I'll record it. So if I don't send it to you individually, you go to the platform, you see the last time what we did is here. So when you come here, you can see we have what we did last time. This is the recorded that day 1. So I'm going to add a day 2 to it. So if you didn't receive from me individual, come here, you should see by evening I will upload everything so you can have and then go over what you've done. If maybe there's something that you couldn't get it, at least you can get a video and watch it again. Okay, so thank you very much, and our next class will be on I think Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are
Please.
meeting on Tuesday, then we meet on Wednesday, then Friday. Okay, so please don't need to practice. Okay, so I've given you a lot. Kindly go over it, practice. Now, don't worry yourself like maybe you want to work on projects and all those things. It's not necessary for now. The most important thing is to understand the concepts, get everything. Then once all those things are clear, we can start a project. These are just the module 1. So you go to module 1, you see that there are lots that we need to cover. So the next phase, next month, it will be different. Okay, so let's all try our best. You are paying for it, so kindly sit up and learn. And if you don't understand anything, you can still reach out to me. You can ask, you can send me a message on WhatsApp, and I'll be available to assist you. Once you are paying me, I'm here to also assist you to understand what you are learning. So kindly try your best. If you don't understand anything, it's better to ask me than now to go to Google. Okay, so I'll you don't go to Google. If you want to go to Google, you could have gone there a lot, or YouTube. There are a lot of video. You can get 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. Sometimes to get somebody who has done it over and over, experience to teach you is the best. So that's why your parents are paying me. So take the opportunity to ask me questions if you don't understand it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So thank you very much. See you
Thank
Tuesday.
you. Thank you too.
AJ,